Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 23 based on novel. So let's start. More than 400 great beings from the Freedom Alliance gathered at the center of the alliance. I bet you've all learned about the humans' response, Shahua Island leader said. Even those who weren't there when the representative came must have heard about it now, after talking with other universe masters. Now that we know their response, I am open to suggestions as to how we should proceed. Some of the ill-tempered universe masters roared in response. The humans are too reckless and arrogant. They didn't even show any respect for us. The Freedom Alliance is the most powerful alliance in the universe. Without our help, they can't survive in the original universe. What do they gain for being so reckless? They don't even have a way open to retreat. Don't they want to survive? Since the formation of Freedom Alliance, the members had felt that they were in a different status in the original universe. They weren't as weak as before, instead, they were the powerful Freedom Alliance. They thought that humans would definitely agree to their terms, so they all got furious when the humans rejected them. Some universe masters started to talk with each other. Night Flame, what do you think? Actually, we've been stuck at the level of universe masters for a long time, so becoming universe supreme masters is what we most desire. As for limit universe supreme masters? That's too far from us. Actually, Shahua Island leader is the one who most desires to become a limit universe supreme master. To us, the conditions offered by humans are satisfying already. I think so, but Shahua has a huge influence on our alliance, so he won't just say yes easily. True. Besides, some of the races that were bullied by pinnacle races and those really confident also stand by Shahua Island leader. Shahua Island leader sat listening to the debate. He glanced across all the 400-something universe masters sitting close to each other and thought, the Freedom Alliance is huge, but lots of races are actually enemies of one another. The only reason they came together is that they were pressured by both sides. Actually, there are too many races and divisions in the alliance. Some of the races are too progressive and confident. Some are fearful, and they still look up to pinnacle races like before and don't want to wrong them. Some are mature. Some are sneaky. It's difficult for them to follow me. I need to get them on my side this time, and we have to force the humans to give us the inheritance to become Limit Universe Supreme Masters. They talked about it for half a month, yet nobody could convince anybody. Universe Masters all had long lives, and this was a crucial time for them. There were way too many races in the Freedom Alliance, and some had been enemies for a long time. Even Shahua Island leader couldn't keep them under control. Shahua Island leader rarely spoke during this time. Instead, he'd been observing. Many universe masters are ambitious. The Freedom Alliance is a powerful alliance, so lots of universe masters want to control this power. Like the Northern Territory Alliance. The Alliance Master didn't have any rights. Instead, Star River Master, Black Lotus Master, and Xianlan Star Master had the executive power. Some universe masters were ambitious and wanted to marginalize Shahua Island leader so he would be a leader in name only. Shahua Island leader wouldn't just let his power go like that. The debate showed how serious the power struggle was among the divisions and races within the Freedom Alliance. There was an independent mountain at the top of Space God Mountain named Ancestral Mountain. There, space and time were twisted, and the electric snake was crawling. A giant being showed up on Ancestral Mountain. Humans, how ambitious they are! Space Beast Ancestor said in a furious voice. How should we decide, Ancestor? Ancestor, we'll force those humans to give us the inheritance. We need to show them what we're capable of. The Universe Masters gathered, and they were all furious. They hadn't expected that the humans would dare to give a response like that. Teacher Origin was born among the humans, so they are proud of themselves, said Space Beast Ancestor slowly. And now, Luofeng has received the inheritance from Duan Dong River. How can they not be ambitious? Do you really think they'll give away the inheritance to the limit power that easily? I thought they would have given us because they're in a desperate situation. Yet they still refuse to give us. Space Beast Ancestor was furious. He thought he was no stranger to Luofeng, and Luofeng was one of the top seniors in the human race. On top of that, he had gone to talk to Luofeng directly. He had thought the humans would definitely give him the experience of how to become Limit Universe Supreme Masters. However, the humans had still refused, and they were only willing to give them the experience of how to become Universe Supreme Masters. What should we do, Ancestor? We can't let the humans off the hook like that. Ancestor. The space beasts were all roaring. They were naturally bloodthirsty with great pride, and they were very disappointed that the humans wouldn't agree to all the requirements they made. No need to rush yet, said Space Beast Ancestor. It's not the time to make a choice yet. I know humans. Even if they resort to retreating back to the original universe, they won't give out the inheritance. We need to wait for our chance. When the humans are finally in despair, they'll panic, and if they still refuse to give us the inheritance, we'll join the alliance and make things worse for them. Okay. Humans, roared the space beasts. They may have been friends with some universe masters from other races, but when it came to the benefits of an entire race, they would definitely stand by their race's side. Luo Feng had lots of friends as well, yet he still stood by the humans. Survival in wars could be cruel. The human race gave a response to the Freedom Alliance, the Ancestral God School, the Space Beast Alliance, and the Lone Universe Supreme Masters. No powers were completely satisfied. Human territory, primal secret region. Luo Feng stood above Thousand Treasures River, and Darkness Master was beside him. Some of them must be very disappointed at our responses, said Luo Feng. However, they are facing a choice. If they choose the United Forces Alliance, they might not get any inheritance even if they win the war. If they choose us, they can at least get part of the inheritance. Darkness Master nodded. That's right, so it won't be too bad. Some powers will choose us, at least. Yes. Luo Feng nodded. If we actually lose the war, even if we slow down, we'll prosper after a time. That's right. Primal Chaos City leader was confident. Go? Luo Feng waved his hands, and a 9-level tower flew out from his palm in the center of Thousand Treasures River. Larger, commanded Luo Feng, controlling Star Tower. Star Tower grew larger and larger, taller and taller. 100 million kilometers, a billion kilometers, 10 billion kilometers. It stopped expanding after it nearly hit the palace where Luo Feng lived. Let's begin the arrangements, said Luo Feng. Let's go. I need to see it as well. This might be the only chance, as I see it. Darkness Master smiled. Luo Feng smiled. Let's go. They walked to the edge of the bottom of Star Tower. It bordered Luo Feng's palace. They flew into the palace and entered a quiet secret chamber. Inside, there was an exquisite sculpture on a wall that stood about 100,000 kilometers tall. These palaces were, after all, the homes of universe masters, so the palaces were massive. This quiet chamber for training was quite large. It was not unheard of for a wall to be 100,000 kilometers tall. The exquisite sculpture on it was actually a portal. The God Country portal was already established. Luo Feng pointed at the sculpture. This is the entry to my God Country. Let's go. Luo Feng took a step and touched the wall. After a ripple, Luo Feng entered, and Darkness Master entered as well. Mosha Body was guarding Star Tower, so it could easily control Star Tower. In the vast God Country. Hong. Long. Remote ocean was tumbling, and above it was a light screen. Two beings walked out, Luo Feng and Darkness Master. Is this your God Country? Darkness Master looked around and exclaimed, impressive. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. His God Country had already hit its limit. It would become a miniature universe if it progressed a step further. There was no need for him to hide his God Country anymore. This remote ocean body of yours, Darkness Master looked down at the endless remote ocean, and admiration flashed through his eyes. Impressive. With such a godly body, there will never be a shortage of godly power. It's just luck. Luo Feng smiled. For one thing, he transferred the soul of Golden Horned Beast to himself, and the blood he had chosen was the limit of what a Golden Horned Beast could bear. It wouldn't be able to breed it if it exceeded the limit. Also, he had the 9-volume manual, so he could gradually improve the genes of his bloody sea from the Prince level all the way to 9 Remoteness Masters level. Darkness Master shook his head. It's not just luck. Luo Feng smiled. I'll begin. Luo Feng looked at the endless remote ocean, and his mind started to control it. Suddenly, remote ocean started to tumble. The water surged and flew toward the light screen like a dragon. The tumbling remote ocean rushed toward the other end of the portal. Meanwhile, in the primal secret region, water from remote ocean flooded out from the sculpture in Luo Feng's training room. In the core ground of the primal secret region, The palaces of Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader were scattered all over the area. Thousand Treasure River was rippling, and a 9-story tower that was several tens of billions of kilometers tall was being suspended right in the middle of Thousand Treasure River. A figure suddenly flew out from within the tower. He wore black all over and was looking down at the sight before him. Snow Sand Ocean. Moshe Luo Feng quickly took control of the situation. At one time, the boundless snow sand ocean was rapidly moving to enshroud the surrounding area of around 10 billion kilometers, so naturally, the palace where Luo Feng resided, along with part of the base of Star Tower, would be enshrouded. The turbulent waters of remote ocean directly surged out of the palace where Luo Feng resided like a water dragon, at a speed that was almost as fast as the speed of light. At the base of Star Tower, a side door adjacent to Luo Feng's palace opened. This side door was around 1 billion kilometers tall, so jets of ocean water columns surged in easily. Moshe Luo Feng was drifting about amidst the icy, snow-white sand grains with brows slightly furrowed. The water column has a diameter of 100,000 kilometers. Even if it charges over almost as fast as the light of speed, to turn the entire endless remote ocean around, I will still need a long, long time. Indeed, it would take an extremely long time. Until today, the diameter of the water column was only 100,000 kilometers, while the endless remote ocean was a massive ocean with a diameter of 80 billion kilometers. This water column continued erupting at the speed of light, yet even if the eruptions were still consistent after 1 year, it was still only a small part of the entire endless remote ocean. There were many universe masters whose godly bodies were not even 10,000 kilometers tall, but for this column of the ocean water of Luo Feng's endless remote ocean, even after 1 year of transportation, the remote ocean showed no trace of movement at all. This showed how vast it truly was. I still need to continue establishing God Country transportation passageways, Moshe Body said to himself. Moshe Body was here while the original Earthling body was in God Country. They both worked single-mindedly to start establishing stationary God Country transportation passageways. Stationary God Country transportation passageways were very common sights. Ordinary undying fighters such as the Emperor of Black Dragon Mountain Empire could also construct such stationary passageways. Or perhaps, to an ordinary undying, this might not be a small price. But to Luo Feng? Even if he were to construct 10,000 or even 1 million of such stationary transportation passageways, it would be something so simple and casual to him. Rise. Fix. Moshe Luo Feng pointed to one of the empty grounds on the courtyard of his palace. That area had an approximate diameter of 1 million kilometers, and the entire passageway speedily fixed and stabilized. A God Country transportation passageway could be big or small. The smaller it was, the easier it was to construct, the bigger it was, the more stable it had to be, so the more difficult it was to construct. Especially when the God Country transportation passageway continued to expand, the price to pay would soar accordingly. Luo Feng might own quite a sizable fortune, so it did not affect him at all, but he was also unwilling to waste too much of his fortune. When he was constructing the entrances of these God Country transportation passageways, the largest diameter would normally be 1 million kilometers, and the smallest would be a few tens of thousands of kilometers. One after the other, passageways were established. Numerous water columns of remote ocean, be it immeasurably thick or extremely fine, surged and gushed toward that side door like thousands of horses galloping together at a high speed that could almost match the speed of light. That side door was, after all, as tall as 100 billion kilometers, so it could easily accommodate the impact of so many water columns of the remote ocean. However, as the number of passageways continued to increase, Star Tower was forced to expand further, and this expansion took place in all other directions possible. That was still acceptable. The space of the core ground was enormous. After all, Thousand Treasure River spread over an area of a few light years, which was a good measure of how vast and wide that space was. Star Tower continued to expand to hundreds of billions of kilometers tall, then continued expanding. Eventually, all the side doors and the deep abyss at the base of Star Tower opened to accommodate more and more ocean water flowing in from the remote ocean. Construct, construct, construct. Luo Feng was constructing without restraint. Too slow, too slow, too slow. He was also frustrated over how massive the endless remote ocean was. However, he could only continue to construct God Country passageways painstakingly. As many as 1 million passageways fully occupied the surroundings of Luo Feng's palace grounds, and their total surface area added up to a diameter of 100 billion kilometers. Even so, within 3 days, the endless remote ocean was fully transported into Star Tower from God Country. Within these 3 days, many great beings from various races, and even some undying fighters, sector lords, and guards of the human race were filled with doubts. Why would that endless snow-sand ocean envelop such a great piece of domain? Yet, even if they were dying of curiosity, there was no way they could seek comprehension. Within Star Tower, in a vast, individual space, the water of the endless remote ocean was flowing out. Luo Feng, Darkness Master, Primal Chaos City Leader, and Pengong Master were positioned above this space. I consider myself to have truly experienced this. Darkness Master sighed. These 3 days, I have stayed around and truly felt how massive this endless remote ocean is. With a passageway with a diameter as wide as 10,000 kilometers, even if you take 1 to 10 years to transport, or even up to 100 years, it would still be very far behind. If this was the transportation of my godly body, I don't even need the time for a blink of an eye. Primal Chaos City Leader laughed and said, otherwise, how could 9 Remoteness Masters' 9 Remoteness Ocean be considered comparable to a supreme true treasure? Because the other races were completely helpless against his 9 Remoteness Ocean, that's why it is worthy enough to be compared to a supreme true treasure. Pengong Master looked down with great envy. Such a massive godly body. It's overly massive. Moving it is tedious and difficult, Luo Feng said, mocking himself. You see, just moving it here from my god country has consumed so much of my strength. I've been constructing transportation passageways like crazy because I can only depend on these transportation passageways to gradually channel over the ocean water of the endless remote ocean. In fact, Luo Feng had been racking his brains for a solution on how to transfer the endless remote ocean over. Because the endless remote ocean could only move about in its entirety, and it moved so slowly that it was almost tortoise-like speed. In the beginning, Luo Feng had to bring Star Tower into God Country. Then Star Tower was expanded to a massive size so that ocean water from the endless remote ocean could gush into Star Tower all at once. This would facilitate the transfer well. This was earlier on, when Luo Feng was still quite weak. He once had to depend on Star Tower to achieve such a transfer. However, that was when remote ocean was still small. And the level of its godly power was weak. But now, everything was different. Upon bearing the entire endless remote ocean, the speed at which Star Tower moved became ridiculously slow. Luo Feng felt overwhelmed by exhaustion. Even if the speed of movement was slow, making use of God Country transportation passageway, it should be able to move fast. Yet the truth was, when Star Tower barely made it to the entrance of the God Country transportation passageway, it caused the entire God Country transportation passageway to collapse. The oppressive force exerted on Star Tower after bearing the endless remote ocean was simply overwhelming. God Country transportation passageway was too weak and fragile by comparison. There was no way it could accommodate a Star Tower that was bearing the endless remote ocean. Luo Feng was dumbfounded, too. Could it be there was no way he could transfer Star Tower that was bearing the endless remote ocean? Fortunately, Luo Feng recalled that he could establish more God Country transportation passageways so that the ocean water from the endless remote ocean water could directly flow through. This ocean water from the remote ocean was well suited for flowing. Naturally, it was fast and efficient. This made Luo Feng sigh in relief. Luckily, this took the form of ocean water. If this was a massive mountain range or a world tree or the likes of it, he would have worries such as whether he was able to construct a God Country transportation passageway that was so massive. No matter what, after painstakingly going through various hardships, he finally managed to move endless remote ocean from the primal secret region into Star Tower with the use of God Country transportation. Then Luo Feng stored snow sand ocean and everything resumed peace and quiet. Those great beings from various other races were filled with doubts, but still, they were unaware of what happened over the past 3 days. Following this, the human race started a long and slow wait. Various methods were in place. They were just pending the replies of the various groups of powers. The Ancestral God School has promised to join the human camp. The Ancestral God School has requested that we give them a part of that guidance first. Then, after the war, we will give the other part. All right. Ha ha. With the Ancestral God School joining the human camp, it will be equivalent to gaining 3 more, 6th tier as the top-level combat powers. And the Ancestral God School has 2 supreme true treasures. The moment they heard this piece of news, the sea of humans was a scene of jubilation. On the contrary, the United Forces camp was in a rage when they learned of the news. The internal disagreements within the Freedom Alliance went on. When they heard that Ancestral God School had chosen to join the human camp, these disagreements within the alliance grew even more heated. Updates arrived successively. Black Universe Creator has decided to join the United Force Camp. Northern Territory Alliance Master has decided to join the United Force Camp. Eju is joining United Force Camp. Virtual Real Devil God is joining United Force Camp. The humans might be feeling bouts of pressure, but they continue to prepare themselves. Since the humans had no intentions of giving out information on cultivating to reach the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master, it was a fact that these supreme masters who traveled alone were not going to help the humans. On the other hand, the United Force Camp was rejoicing. At that very moment, the division of powers between the two sides was gradually coming to light. Other than Sitting Mountain Guest, Demon Beast Ancestor, and a few other great beings who had not made their stand yet, the majority of the groups of powers had already announced their decisions. Now, only the Space Beast Alliance and Freedom Alliance had yet to make their final choice. The Space Beast Alliance has sent its envoy here again. Quite an eloquent one, he even said that imparting them information on cultivating to reach the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master will not affect the overall situation that the primal universe is in. Through the conversation, it is so obvious that there is a hint of a threat, and apparently, this Space Beast Alliance is also contemplating whether or not it should join the United Force Camp. There is no need to bother about him. Now, the Freedom Alliance's decision is our greatest concern. Right now, within the entire primal universe, various groups of races were all looking toward the Freedom Alliance. It was the most important source of strength, especially with the United Forces Camp's increase in ability, which had already surpassed the human camp's power by leaps and bounds. But the moment the Freedom Alliance decided to help the humans, then no matter what, the United Forces Camp was destined for failure. Fight! The internal disagreements within the Freedom Alliance were severe. The majority wanted to join the human camp. At least they could obtain the guidance from the cultivation experience of the ancient civilization on how they could cultivate to achieve the universe supreme master level. The other part of the Freedom Alliance, including Shahua Island leader, wanted to pressure the humans into acquiescing to their demands. Otherwise, they would join the United Forces Camp as a way of threatening the humans. The differences between both parties, especially when the situation within the entire primal universe eventually depended on their decisions, became even more serious. The more aggressive party headed by Shahua Island leader and the more stable party that consisted of the various other groups were engaged in an extremely intense fight against one another. It was the third month since the endless remote ocean had entered Star Tower. Luo Feng. Teacher? Luo Feng met with Primal Chaos City leader. Come over to Earth as fast as you can, Primal Chaos City leader requested. The avatar of the Alliance Master of the Freedom Alliance, Shahua Island leader, has landed on Earth this very moment. Landed on Earth? Luo Feng frowned. Yes. He is here alone to negotiate with us humans. Primal Chaos City leader was very solemn as he continued. Because we have many great beings of various races in our primal secret region right now, he is unwilling to disclose his identity. Therefore, the venue for negotiations will be on Earth. Seems like Shahua Island leader intends to help the human camp. Alone? Luo Feng seemed to have an inkling of what was going on. What teacher means to say is that he is not representing the Freedom Alliance, but representing only himself. Primal Chaos City leader nodded slightly. All right, I will go and meet up with him. Luo Feng nodded. The individual being sent for negotiations was a clear reflection of the degree of importance. Currently, within the human camp, the ones of the highest status would be Primal Chaos City leader, Luo Feng, Darkness, and Peng Gong. Out of these four, the status of Primal Chaos City leader and Luo Feng were of higher importance. Life on Earth was as peaceful as ever. The war between the two major camps in the primal universe had not aroused the slightest trace of disruption to the populace living on the countless life planets. This populace was made up of the common people. Strolling along the wide and spacious pavements, it was common to see warriors walking out of dojos in their training uniforms, and there would be many universe businessmen walking down the streets while discussing business matters. Luo family? A purple-robed figure stood before the door of an old mansion. This old mansion was the house of the Luo family. Even on Earth, it had a unique significance. By the doorstep, there were guards to stop intruders or simply the common public who were trying to satisfy their curiosity. But where the purple-robed figure stood, it seemed like the people walking past him, or even the guards at the doors, could not see him at all. Mama, is this Luo Feng's house? Yes, this is Luo Feng's house. Haven't you been making a racket about coming to Earth to see the noblest leader of the pulse of us Earthlings? Mama has fulfilled my promise and brought you here. When we get back to Jade Birch Star, you must train hard at the dojo. Yes, Mama. I heard that Luo Feng was born in a distant base city era of our Earth, and at that time, there were many cities that were in ruins or desolate waste. I want to see them all. Don't worry. This time around, we have ample time on Earth. We can go to many attractions. A pair of mother and son, who both had black hair and black eyes with yellow skin, were walking along a sidewalk a distance away from Luo family's mansion. After a brief discussion, they left shortly after. Every day, there would be many people coming to this place even during the base city era. Since the time when Luo Feng and company did not hesitate to risk their lives to fight that swallowing beast, his status had already soared to the level of an absolute hero. Thereafter, when the Nuolan Shan family clan descended on Earth, Luo Feng had once again stepped out to ward off their attacks. Luo Feng's status got higher and higher, and the publicity on Earth would naturally praise him to even higher elevations. There were also Earthlings roaming about the universe who had benefited greatly from Luo Feng's help. This made them even more thankful for Luo Feng. Therefore, over the past tens of thousands of years, generations of Earthlings had passed on the heroic deeds of Luo Feng, and this was how Luo Feng became the greatest leader and godly spirit in the eyes of all Earthlings entering the universe era. A voice resounded, "Shahua Island leader." The purple-robed figure turned around to look. On a bustling sidewalk crowded with people, there was a black-haired youth garbed in a silver-white robe approaching from a distance away. The people around him could not see him at all. It was as though they were in a different dimension altogether. On the pavement, there were many Earthlings who specially came from other faraway planets to learn about how Luo Feng grew up through traces that were found all over his homeland. Yet no one was the slightest bit aware that Luo Feng was walking alongside them. Luo Feng, the purple-robed figure, greeted with a smile. "I did not expect Shahua Island leader to choose to meet here." Luo Feng walked to the front of the mansion, then raised his head to take a look. "I wanted to come and see the extraordinary great being from the talented young generation who rose from the human race at such a tremendous rate," Shahua Island leader said in a gentle tone. "Exactly how did he manage to rise? And what kind of environment could have cultivated this talent?" Luo Feng smiled. He took one look at this Shahua Island master, who was so handsome that he could be an epitome of perfection but seemed to be more of a neutral gender. However, this Shahua Island leader was a unique life form, so it was also possible that he did not have any gender at all. "Out of all you humans, the one I respect the most is Teacher Origin," Shahua Master said softly with a sigh. "Especially the virtual universe Teacher Origin created. This virtual universe instantly made your culture 1,000, a million times more splendid. Even for faraway cultures that were scattered all over the universe, colliding with one another in the virtual universe could create new sparks. Various imaginations could become tangible within the virtual universe. Even I myself often get to experience your human culture within the virtual universe." Luo Feng nodded. With or without the virtual universe, it was indeed a world of difference. "When I was in the virtual universe, I have seen quite a few rounds of the War of Talents of you humans. Only that particular year of the War of Talents that you participated in. I was wandering on an adventure in Universe Ocean and could not dare get distracted. Therefore, I clean forgot about watching it." Shahua Island leader shook his head while lamenting. "If I had watched it, I would be tempted to take you under my wing, taking you in as my disciple. How wonderful that would have been. This inheritance of Duan Dong River. How easy would it be for me to lay hands on it? Even if Shahua Island leader had watched that particular round of War of Talents earlier on, you would not want me as your disciple," Luo Feng said. "At that time, I was not the most outstanding one." "True." Shahua Island master shook his head and lamented again. "No one will dare proclaim to know what will happen in the future. Even if I had seen your performance that day, I would not have guessed your fate. I would never have expected a young chap from an indigenous race to be able to rise to be my equal when he matured." Luo Feng gave a slight frown and said, "Shahua Island leader's purpose in coming here is not merely to have a chat with me, right?" Shahua Island leader's expression changed instantly. "Luo Feng." Shahua Island leader stared at Luo Feng. "My purpose here is simple. Now, all the major groups of powers within the entire primal universe are paying close attention to the final choice of my Freedom Alliance. In other words, whichever side my Freedom Alliance chooses to join, that side will be determined as the winner." Luo Feng nodded slightly. "And now, there are split opinions within my Freedom Alliance," said Shahua Island leader said. "One part wants to join your human camp. The other part wants even more. I belong to the latter part. My purpose in coming here is that I only have one goal, that you humans will impart to me the cultivation experiences of that ancient civilization on how I can cultivate the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master. Shahua Island leader looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng instantly let out a hint of a sneer. Don't rush to reject me, Shahua Master said. I come here representing myself. In other words, the cultivation experience is to be able to cultivate to the ultimate limit that you humans give me are solely mine to own. If you give me this inheritance, I will not impart it to any other being of the Freedom Alliance. And I will lead and persuade all those under my influence in the Freedom Alliance to join your human camp. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. You mean to say? Yes. That is exactly what I mean. You humans only need to fulfill an insignificant condition that the Freedom Alliance demands. As for the cultivation experiences to achieve an ultimate limit, you only need to give it to me. I will help you humans now that the Freedom Alliance is split in two internally and I have much influence over one of these two groups. If I help you, the stalemate will soon come to an end, and the Freedom Alliance will join your human camp. Besides, I am no fool. After I get what I am after, I will not be so silly as to share it with other great beings. Wouldn't that be the same as training my enemy? Shahua Island leader looked at Luo Feng. What do you think of my proposal? Luo Feng was tempted. If the experiences of the ancient civilization on how to cultivate to achieve the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master were only imparted to Shahua Island leader, the humans would not need to worry about him spreading it to outsiders. Unless Shahua Island leader was, indeed, a fool. By only giving it to him, I can get over 400 universe masters to join my human camp. Luo Feng nodded discreetly. Previously, his plan might have been impressive, but there were still risks attached. If the Freedom Alliance joined his human camp, they would truly be freed from any possible risk. Give me a moment, Luo Feng said. At that moment, in the virtual universe, Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City leader, Peng Gong Master, and Darkness Master met on the apex of Thunder Island. This was what he demanded, to give him the experiences of the ancient civilization on how to cultivate to achieve the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master, Luo Feng said. Then he will help us. Teacher, Darkness, Peng Gong, what do you all think about his demands? Only giving it to him alone? Darkness muttered to himself pensively. Peng Gong also nodded slightly. Now there are two voices within the Freedom Alliance. One is willing to join us, the other is reluctant to do so and demands that we give them more. Shahua Island leader is the leader of the group with the second voice. If he helps us, it is indeed possible to achieve a united voice within the Freedom Alliance as soon as possible. Just giving it to him alone is possible, Primal Chaos City leader said slowly. A single universe supreme master does not affect the big picture. True. And when we give him the information about the inheritance, we can be as brief as possible. Darkness Master sneered. He doesn't even know what the inheritance we have is like. We can give him simplified information, then tell him that it's what we got. What can he do? Luo Feng also nodded. The four highest-ranked great beings of the human race all felt that giving the information to Shahua Island leader alone, in exchange for over 400 universe masters joining the human camp, was a feasible deal. And we must give him a portion before the war and the other portion after the war. Luo Feng smiled. The portion before the war will have him coveting for more. After the war, when we give him the other portion, he may find it too brief, but the war will have ended. So what if he has regrets? True. We can accede to his request. The higher-ups of the humans all nodded their agreements. Primal Chaos City leader even contacted Teacher Origin once to consult him about this matter. Teacher Origin was also in agreement. Firstly, they only had to give information to Shahua Island leader. Secondly, even if he managed to get his hands on that simplified information on that inheritance, it would still be extremely tough for Shahua Island leader to achieve a breakthrough and cultivate to reach the ultimate limit. Earth. Internally, the human race has finished this discussion. Luo Feng looked at Shahua Island leader. And all agreed. Shahua Island leader heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a smile. Before the war, we humans will give you a third of the information, said Luo Feng. If the Freedom Alliance joins the human camp in this war, then after the war has ended, we will give you the other 2/3 of the information. Deal? Shahua Island leader nodded. When will you give me the information? Very soon. Luo Feng replied. The human race has held an internal discussion. Luo Feng looked at Shahua Island leader. and we have agreed to accede to your request. After your human camp gives me part of the information, I will act fast and urge the Freedom Alliance to join your camp, Shahua Island leader said without further ado. The human camp, indeed, prepared a set of information on the inheritance that very same day and handed it over to Shahua Island leader, who was excited and overjoyed to see it. This partial information alone was able to stir up his desire for more, and he was already yearning to lay hands on the remaining 2/3. The only thing was, he had to wait until after the war. The humans were all waiting anxiously. Shahua Island leader wouldn't go back on his word after receiving the information and not help us as promised, would he? Fret not. Shahua Island leader put so much effort into creating that Freedom Alliance, and even became an alliance master, for what? All of it was just for the inheritance, wasn't it? It will do him no good at all if any of the universe masters from the Freedom Alliance also gets a part of it. Getting it all for himself is enough. He will handle this appropriately. Luo Feng, Darkness Master, Primal Chaos City Leader, and the rest were waiting anxiously. They were all worried that an accident might happen midway. After all, the Freedom Alliance was brimming with great beings. Even if Shahua Island leader were to help, he was also unable to give a 100% guarantee that he would succeed in his persuasion. Half a month after being given a third of the information on cultivation experiences from the inheritance, Shahua Island leader finally sent a piece of news. Internally, the Freedom Alliance has arrived at a consensus. The Alliance has decided to join the human camp. This video will end here.